So I'm going to kind of run my screen and I will start with you, Floyd. Would you like to just introduce yourself and say either how you got here or who you're with?
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing today? I'm happy to be here. I'm from Bitwise Industries. I'm the community outreach coordinator. I've been to a few of these events before, and I'm just here to support Phil and Taylor. And I'm just happy to see what you got going on today.
Thank you for joining us. And Dory.
Hi, I'm Dory Jones. I work with Bay Valley Tech, handling their PR efforts.
Nice to see you. Eddie.
Hi, my name's Eddie. I'm a student at Bay Valley Tech right now, and I heard about the Tech Connect today and came by to see what's going on.
Are you a buyer grad?
I am. I recognize you too.
Man, it took me a minute. Like, wow, that's awesome. Nice to see you.
Good times from Buyer Band.
You got it. Very cool. Maisie.
Hi, I'm Maisie. I'm from Valley Sierra SBDC. I'm the marketing and training coordinator, and I've been to almost every one of them.
Super excited for our partnership. Thank you for being here today. And Lucas.
Sorry, I had to unmute there. So I'm Lucas. I work with Lamar Software and Bay Valley Tech, and I'm a software developer. And I'm just here to support my boss, essentially, both of them.
Nothing wrong with that. Thank you for joining us. Felicia. You're still on mute, my friend.
There we go. Multitasking, sorry. I am the events coordinator here at the Modesto Chamber.
Thank you. Judy, hi.
Hi there, everyone. Hi, Trish. Judy Boring, Public Information Officer with the Stanislaus County Office of Education, and I keep trying to get our tech people to sign in, but you know.
They think they know it all, don't they?
I think that's their thinking, definitely.
You gotta get Bert to show up one of these days too.
I'm trying. I send them the invitation. Come on, or send it to your guys and ladies. I can't just say guys.
Okay.
To your people.
We need to make a plan on how to corner that one then, it sounds like. Awesome. Thank you. Joseph Cordova.
Hey everyone, Joseph Cordova, Assistant Director with the Valley Sierra SBDC. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Ben? Ben, could you unmute and introduce yourself? We will come back. Aaron?
Hi, I'm Aaron. I'm a student and I was an intern at Bay Valley Tech, finished the internship a couple weeks ago, and I'm just here working on programs and just learning more about the community. So yeah, that's me.
Awesome, thank you. Bob.
Hi there, Bob Kimball, City of Modesto Economic Development and a Tech Connect recidivist.
Thank you. And Steve? Steve, are you able to unmute and introduce yourself? Okay, we'll come back to you as well. Daisy?
Hello, my name is Daisy Mayorga. I'm a project manager with Bitwise Industries.
Nice to see you again. Thank you. Octavio.
Hello guys, I'm from Sacramento. I joined to meet up with the Bay Valley Tech and I submit the applications. I've been in a couple meetups with you guys and I love technology. That's why I support everybody here.
Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
Dawood.
Hey everyone, I'm Daywood and I am an intern from Lamar Software working closely with Taylor, and I'm also a student at Bay Valley Tech.
Nice, thank you. Kira.
Hi, my name is Kira Lemons. I'm the operations manager at Bay Valley Tech.
Thank you. Brian. Could you introduce yourself, Brian?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry, I just joined in. Good afternoon, everybody. I see some familiar faces on, like Philip and Lucas and Judy. Brian McDermott, Team SOS. I've been in the industry for 30 years and at Team SOS now for 7 years. I'm getting married next month.
Yay.
And that's taken the first time in 24 years. So I've been quite an experience for me. And I'm here to I'm also on the board of directors for the Chamber of Commerce. So if there's anything we can help on that side, let me know. But I'm here to coordinate with you guys to keep an eye out for good up and coming talent, while also being one of your industry experts that's been around a while.
Thank you, sir. And Steve, it looks like you went out and came back in. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hi. My name is Steve Guzman. I'm hopefully a prospect student for the Bay Valley Tech Academy, and just got an email about this meeting going on and decided to join in.
Thank you so much. And we'll try Ben one more time. Are you able to unmute and introduce yourself, Ben?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I'm Ben. I'm a student at the Bay Valley Tech at with cohort 212. Just came in just to see what's going on.
Happy to have you. Thank you. And
Thank
Phil,
you.
I'll let you introduce yourself and then our speaker.
Great. Well, first of all, just want to thank everybody on the call today and thank all of the organizations that have come along to partner with us on this initiative and to grow tech here in the Central Valley. And, obviously Trish and the Chamber, Bob, thank you for coming today. We're looking forward to our growing partnerships there with the city. Oak Valley Community Bank, Remus Foundation has come along recently to help expand the work that's doing that we're all doing here. And SBDC, thank you so much for expanding your partnership with us here as well. Floyd, thanks for coming, and Daisy, and thank you for hiring so many folks recently and putting them into the apprenticeship programs there. We're looking forward to our growing partnership with you guys to help the Central Valley. So let me introduce you guys to Taylor real quick. I've known him for several years. He started off as an intern in our organization and quickly gained a lot of expertise and a very good reputation within the tech community. So for the last few years, he's been running his own software consulting company and doing some amazing projects for some leading companies here in the Valley. And then at the same time, he's been employing and training lots of software developers. And, in his free time, a little bit that he has, right? He's a head of instruction for Bay Valley Tech. So he has been overseeing the development and growth of other instructors like Lucas and a variety of other folks that, collectively they have trained, hundreds and hundreds of folks here locally. So he also has, taken on something else additionally. And so recently, so it's exciting to see what's happening with him and Lucas and many of our Bay Valley Tech associated folks who are now contributing even more and more to the talent base of the Central Valley and helping our local companies to grow. So Judy, thank you so much for coming too. So good to see you. And obviously we are so grateful for SCO's partnership. So thank you very much. And with that, we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm Taylor, again, software engineer, owner of Lamar Software. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to meet everyone here. So I'll go ahead and start, kick us off. I'll share my screen. There we go. And if you don't see this, please let me know. I'm using a new computer, so. Alrighty, okay.
We see it, you're good to go.
Perfect, okay. Alrighty, yeah, so this is a presentation about custom software and the benefits of using custom software, all that good stuff. So quick background about me and my career. I work with all kinds of organizations, startup companies, nonprofits, enterprise, anywhere and everywhere in between. And I work with some really, really great, passionate people, and built some really great and exciting software. And a question that I get pretty often is, what kind of software do you build? And that's a great question. We build web apps, mobile apps, desktop apps. And if that sounds a bit general, it's because it is. It doesn't really fall under a specific category, right? If it's anything and everything you need to perform a critical business function. And that's the beauty of custom software. You have unlimited control over your software, what it does, how it looks, pretty much everything. And hence our motto, freedom from the software status quo. It's freedom from the limitations and restrictions from using off-the-shelf software. So here it is, customizable software for a competitive advantage. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's at the end of the day, it's just a unique solution for a unique problem. I'm not sure about our technical backgrounds or how familiar we are with technical terms and software and all that stuff, but part of what I would like to do is try to clear that up a bit, so that's not just this magical, mysterious black box that does things, right? So I'll start off with this. Let's start off with a definition. What is custom software? Simply put, it's software specifically just for you and your organization. And you have unlimited control over what the software does down to the pixel, right? Software, a lot of the time, it can be, again, like a black box. It's such a wide, all-encompassing term that it's challenging for those who aren't familiar with software to have a comprehensive understanding of what it does, especially custom software, because that just makes things even more general. So let's keep things simple. It's just a unique custom software built just for you, right? Now, I wanted to actually demo something really quickly, just to sort of help us visualize, get something a little bit more tangible. So let me go ahead and share this screen here. So this is Modesto on Ice. Actually, they'll be opening up November 20th of this year. And we partner with them for a couple years now in building a custom software application for them. And I just wanted us to visualize and just kind of see the difference between what off-the-shelf software does versus what a consultancy like we do. So here's Modesto on Ice. This is their website, and this was built using Squarespace. And I'm sure we've heard that term before, but for those of us who haven't, Squarespace is an off-the-shelf piece of software that allows you to build websites, essentially. It's very content-oriented. There's some search engine optimization. You can get some analytics. You can even integrate some e-commerce stuff in here. But you'll see it's really just, here's content. Here's Modesto on Ice. Here's our sponsors. Here's some pictures and all that good stuff, right? And then we built this, and we'll get into why we built it and why they ultimately made the decision to do custom software. But here we have this custom e-commerce like ticketing system, essentially. So you as a customer, you can go in here, you can select which state you want, you can purchase tickets, manage your account, all this stuff. And not only that, but people like Kathy, who now owns Modesto on Ice, she has access to all this stuff. She can see her sessions, the ticket sales for specific dates or session, all the birthdays, whether people signed waivers, all this information just at her fingertips. And of course, this is mobile responsive. So if we take a look at this on a mobile device, we'll be able to see that, she can also view this on a mobile device. Some of it's a little bit wonky, but at the end of the day, it's mobile friendly. I'm gonna go back to my presentation here. Let's go back to this.
Your last one did not come down yet, so it won't let you put there you go.
There we go. All right. So, and that's really all there is. Custom software takes many forms, and we'll talk about that again, get some more well-defined, what is software. But you may be asking yourself, okay, Taylor, so I understood that custom software is software built just for me, whatever. But really, at the end of the day, why should I care? Why should I consider custom software? And that's a fantastic question. There are tens and hundreds of off-the-shelf solutions that could potentially do what you need to do, right? That solve your particular problem. So why should you even consider? Well, in whatever vertical you're in, you'll find all this stuff. And well, you have to ask yourself this question, will this software meet at least 80% of my business needs? And if the answer is yes, then okay, well, you should start considering it. But very rarely does that ever happen. And realistically speaking, that's closer to 60%. And at the very least, you should ask professionals in the industry to help, make your decision. But a lot of the time, this off-the-shelf software, like Squarespace, for example, only meets maybe 60% of your needs, forcing you to make a series of compromises. And that's what you don't want. And that's what custom software helps. So like you'll hear the term, one size fits all. And oftentimes one size does not fit all. Your business, is very, it's fluid. It has a lot of really unique traits to it. And although off-the-shelf software like Squarespace, it seems like a slam dunk most of the time, but that's because they're well marketed. And the sales process is meant to make you feel like you'll be missing out on some key differentiator, but it can often be expensive for more reasons than just the upfront cost. But it can also be inflexible and doesn't provide your organization with a unique advantage. So you should ask yourself a series of questions, and these are incredibly important for you to ask and sleep on. So for example, are you paying for the complexity of many features that aren't necessary to your operations? A lot of the more, are you paying for all these features that you're not going to use? What about the training and implementation and the maintenance? What about the subscription costs? Do you have detailed requirements written out to make the right choice? And if that's something, if you're in the middle of deciding what you need to do, write out those requirements. What problems are you trying to solve, and compare that to how the software will fit those needs. Also, what's incredibly important, and often, we neglect this, I think, and how important this is, but do you have an in-house support team to implement either solution? Because support and maintenance, when things go wrong, you're going to want a dedicated support team to handle that. So do you have the resources, or do you have the software, this off-the-shelf software? Do they have some sort of support team to help you if things go wrong, right? And I always like to make this example with healthcare, right? So there are certain businesses, especially those in the healthcare industry, where constant changes driven by regulation and mandatory compliance make custom application development a must. So let's imagine a workflow where a healthcare company is exchanging papers, faxes, and emails. A secure portal is a much better option that will allow them to meet HIPAA compliance and reduce paper, exchange information quickly and securely, and give them the ability to analyze the data through reports and dashboards. And I know that's a bunch of corporate mumbo jumbo, but it would take a procedure card, for example, and Daisy, about how successful they've been. Take a procedure card. They were a revolutionary business for these little things called preference or procedure cards in the healthcare industry, where surgeons will write certain pieces of information on these pieces of paper, and they would trade hands, and things would get messy and lost. And I can't read your writing, the doctor, the stereotypical doctor thing where you can't read the doctor's handwriting, right? All that fun stuff. Well, procedure card made all that information. They've electronified that. They made this app. We actually helped them build it and to deploy it. And these healthcare organizations are able to transfer that data and manage it electronically. That's huge. There's no other software that can do that. So that's just one of the many examples of why you would consider custom software. And another really important question that I hear a lot is, okay, but understand custom software, understand when it's appropriate, but where does it fit, right? Especially if it's like a huge organization, you have all these moving parts. You don't want to introduce, unnecessary complexity. But it's actually, you can start simple. So you can start with a single component. So for example, this by far is like one of the two most requested things I hear is custom, oftentimes automated reporting that existing software doesn't support. Or business intelligence using existing data. So for example, if we take reporting, right, you have this report that someone has to write, once a week, once a day, once a month, whatever. And you don't want to burn labor hours doing that, right? Well, we can, or anyone can write a piece of software that does exactly that. It's automated, so it's quicker, it's cheaper, and you can allocate those human labor hours doing something a lot more meaningful than, reports that can be automated. Or business intelligence, right? A lot of the times organizations, they don't have like a well-defined list of business intelligence. And what I mean by that is, how can they improve? What are areas that they're doing really well in and successful in? And what are areas where they're struggling, but they may not even know it, right? And that's just a single component. It's not completely overhauling everything. It's just a little thing on the map. It's not introducing unnecessary complexity, and it's just there. And it's a way for some businesses even to experiment. Like, is this right for them? Well, let's just experiment with this small piecemeal part of the business process. And oftentimes they'll be like, wow, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. And then they'll just take a more holistic approach, right? So like a customer portal or data aggregation. So for example, and I'll show you this in a second, but like we've worked with companies before where they needed a portal for their customers to go and again, review reports on their own business intelligence, pay invoices, all that good stuff, and data aggregation. So if you have like 3, 4, 5 different systems and you need to aggregate that data into a single data set. So for example, we work with Life Chiropractic College West down in Hayward, and they had 3 different systems for managing their donors and their students and constituents and all these different kinds of people. And they had a database administrator essentially just pulling all these reports and managing all this data. So they had a human person, a database administrator, doing all this stuff that a piece of software can do in fractions of a second, right? So we essentially just freed up his time. He's happier, and everyone else is getting this data in a much more effective way. And again, I'll show you that. But so all that into consideration, why I should care and where does it fit? Let's talk about some key benefits about using custom software. So first and foremost, this is, in my opinion, by far the most significant benefit to using custom software, and that it's tailor-made. So if we go back to our Modesto on Ice, I'm going to share that screen here. So let's take Modesto on Ice, right? So this is, again, a tailor-made platform. Everything that you see here on this page, this is Squarespace. On this is something that was custom made specifically for them. So they have this Squarespace site, and before Modesto and Ice, they were using Squarespace for e-commerce, meaning they made like pages for every single session. Sessions, by the way, are like, they have a 10 o'clock session and 11:30, 1 o'clock. Like these are different skating sessions, right? And they had made a page for every single one. They were trying to essentially trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, because Squarespace doesn't do that nearly as well as a custom app would. And so what we were able to do was make this, like, we made all these pages from scratch, all the fonts, all the colors, all the everything was made specifically by a decision that they made. So we introduced some really cool features that like Squarespace wouldn't be able to do. So for example, season passes. So you can actually buy like season passes for Modesto and Ice that's good for the entire season, and it's all managed by your account. Squarespace can't do that. We built this admin panel so she can, or Kathy, the person who owns Modesto and Ice, she can go in and manage her notifications. She can download a sales report. This report, again, she just sent us a template and be like, hey, Taylor, I would like these fields in a report. Can you do that for me? Of course. And so we did just that. We created a report. You can enter some dates and download the report in a second. We can manage users and passes and birthdays and who's got what birthday on when. And again, we have more automated reports in the background. All this stuff, the owners of Modesto and Ice carefully crafted what would make the most sense for them and what's the most convenient. And then they just sent us a list of requirements. We work with them, and this is what we built. And again, this is just one of the many examples of how custom software can be of a lot of value. Yeah, so again, it's made from scratch to match your exact specific needs. Return on investment. This is a huge one. So oftentimes, especially when we work with small businesses, there is a like sticker shock that comes with custom software because it is costly, right? You look at things like Microsoft Office and its subscription or licensing for like, $10 a month or whatever, or Squarespace, which is like 15 to $25 a month or something like that, and it seems to be a lot more pricey. But what's important is that you're not just looking at short term what makes sense. You're also looking at like the return on investment long term. So for example, like if we take a look at like Modesto and Ice, right? If we take a look at all their sessions, how much it costs per session and all this stuff, if once we introduce ticket sales, and let's just say that they sold, let's just say 20 more tickets per session, right? Because before they didn't have online ticket sales, but now they do. They would have made $114,000 extra at the end of their fiscal year. And you may have, like small businesses may have sticker shock at first, but imagine the shock of making over $100,000 at the end of your fiscal year when the custom software didn't, obviously cost that much. So that's pretty huge. And then of course, labor hours are expensive, right? If we take that example of Life Rust and that database administrator going through doing all those reports and exports and whatever, if we just take that database administrator 1 hour a day, cost that organization over $13,000 at the end of their fiscal year. And so when we automated that report, again, it was just a little bit, just a little snippet of their business process that we help automate. It, of course, makes complete sense, also financially, and it frees up his time. That database administrator frees up his time to focus doing more important things than just automation or reporting, excuse me. And also it eliminates human error. It compiles a list of priorities. It does so many great things that, yes, the initial cost it's a lot, and there's no way to say otherwise. Like I can't convince you that it's not a lot, because it's a lot. But it definitely, without a doubt, will have a long-lasting impact on your organization. So they say work smarter, not harder. Well, even better, just don't, quote unquote, don't work at all and give that responsibility to software to help automate and just take care of that for you. Also, another one, not as glamorous as, making money or, you essentially, pick and choosing every little thing about your software. But what's really important, especially depending on like if you're working with like medical data is security. So I'm just going to quickly go through this, but off-the-shelf software is vulnerable to attacks. It's popular for a reason, and a lot of people are like, oh, hey, this has been around for this many years, this many people are using it. They can exploit it and do things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to do with custom software. And also, it helps you meet specific standards and regulations and stuff like that. So, for example, people in healthcare, you have to comply with HIPAA. If you're taking invoicing and payments, you have to comply with all these other different kinds of things. And custom software just takes care of that for you. You don't have to worry about that at all. Compatibility. So again, really quickly, if you have like an old system or something like that, then using off-the-shelf software will not always take care of that. So for example, we worked with Langer juice, like the cheap juices that you find at Walmart or grocery outlet, and like the grape juice and whatnot. So they had this super archaic system, and it was so old that it physically would not work. It just would not run and do what they needed it to do. And so we needed to essentially rebuild that entire system for them. But they're, Langer juice. They're not going to just shut down operations while we, do programming development things. So we worked with the stakeholders and their IT team, all, we did for them. And we built the system that had backwards compatibility, meaning like their old system can still run and our new system communicates with the old system and everyone's happy. So people, if they still needed to use that old system, they can. Also iterative compatibility. So as we're building out this new system, then eventually the old legacy system will just eventually phase out, but it's not like this big deal, right? There's no downtime, there's no big cutover, there's nothing like that. It's just, we take care of just making sure everything's compatible with each other. And that's that, very little downtime. And then here, this is huge because it's not just like technical. It's, you're working in an organization and you're making a commitment. And it's kind of hard to explain this in a way, but I've worked with software for as long as I have, and even when you're just learning software and getting into the weeds with that, you start to understand just how like it's a commitment, right? So what you want to do is try to avoid or mitigate those long-term risks as much as you can. And this is what custom software can help you do. So for example, like if you're in an agile environment, software solutions can evolve quickly to meet your changing market needs, or needs that were driven in some other way. In other words, they grow and they change with you. The hands-on dedicated support is huge. So, many times off-the-shelf software companies release newer versions of their software, and then they stop supporting older versions. And so you're just, your software doesn't work anymore, and you're like, hey, what's going on? And they have to call IT, and then they have to reach out to the vendor and blah, blah, blah. And it's just delays, right? And you don't have any control over that. But custom software, you'll know, like as soon as you talk to the software vendor, hey, I'm going to make this change. And then the consultancy will go back to you and tell you, hey, this is what's going to happen. You know the consequences immediately so that you can be proactive instead of reactive, right? Companies can, just flat out, they can lose staff or go bankrupt and just stop providing support altogether, right? You don't run those kinds of risks when you go with custom software. You can run your business without worrying about an off-the-shelf software suddenly just not working, which disrupts your entire business or whatever critical function you have running, which is huge. And also, you just get better support from teams working with custom software than off-the-shelf software, right? I don't know if we've all seen The Office, but that scene when Dwight and Jim, they go to this office manager, and then Jim calls Kelly at Dunder Mifflin, and she answers within a couple seconds, whereas Dwight, after minutes, they're still on hold, right? With an IT team, and they'll play this automated message saying, your call is very important to us, right? I can say firsthand that one of the things that I hear from customers the most is the level of support that we're able to give, and that we can just pick up the phone and be like, hey, what's going on? How can I help you? Like, that's one of the pieces of feedback that I hear from clients all the time is they don't get that from other off-the-shelf platforms. And also the things like resolution time and response time, right? So like, not only is your problem in the system, but we resolved it in a much quicker time, and that's huge. And you only get that really with custom software. So with all those things in mind, right, you have the tailor-made aspect, the huge return on investment, the security components, backwards compatibility, and of course the mitigation of long-term risks. All that sounds amazing, but I want to be very clear that it's not always the solution. As an owner of a custom software engineering consultancy, it's really easy for me to say, yeah, go with custom software. It's great. But again, it's vitally important to discern whether it's appropriate to use custom software or off-the-shelf software. And so I want to help you, be equipped with that discernment, so to speak, because it's not always the best direction for organizations. So let's talk about some of the deciding factors. Again, there's a lot here to consider, but I just want to sort of scaffold out this thought process for everyone here. So first off, off-the-shelf software. So when might you want to use this? Again, when you have I'll just cut through this here. So custom software, when you have the budget to invest in costly software, obviously, first and foremost, it's cost. Off-the-shelf software, you have typically just a subscription model, or even if it's a bulky upfront cost, it tends to be less expensive, even in the short term, if you use off-the-shelf software. If you have custom software, it's again highly customizable. So if you have something where you need a very specific need, then you would use that. Whereas if you have very few integration or customizable requirements, I just do off-the-shelf software. This one's almost a must if you're working with highly sensitive data. Again, things like healthcare, any sort of a lot of government kind of stuff. You'll want to use, typically you want to go with this route. Or if you have things like plans to scale as an organization, you'll want to use off-the-shelf software. And this one is also a huge one. So we have cost, which is a huge deciding factor. And then also this, you'll need time to devote to building a custom software integration, right? So these kinds of things take time. So for example, just to give you a little peer into what, Lamar Software does is, we'll sit someone down. There's going to be a couple phone calls or meetings about, tell me about your business or your organization and what you do, what problem are you trying to solve, all that stuff. And then we have to talk about, or like trying to better define the problem. So oftentimes, like when we're meeting with people, it's the problem that they're trying to solve is actually just a symptom of a more like a deeper root cause, right? So what we're trying to do is making sure that we're solving the symptom or solving the actual cause and not just a symptom of some other deeper issue that may be lying underneath the surface, right? And then we create these like design mock-ups, and then we do testing and all these other kinds of things, and that kind of stuff takes time, right? And so when you're working with these kinds of companies, here are some really good questions. Aside from the general questions like how are you going to work with us? How much is it going to cost? What are the deadlines? Blah blah blah. Here are some more specific questions specifically for like software consultancies that you should ask. So first and foremost, what are your processes for development, implementation, and project management? The workflow that the dev team uses to build your software will influence everything. And I cannot emphasize that enough. It'll influence everything. Like I've worked with some dev teams where they do like Agile, Scrum, and some that use, Waterfall, or some that don't have anything at all. And knowing how the dev team works and what their workflows and how they operate is like you need to know how they do things. Otherwise, you may have some unexpected, like some surprises when your questions don't get answered, or the overall turnaround time for some things are just not at all up to your up to your expectations. Also, how will you work internally with us, right? So, software is tailored specifically to meet your needs, and you need to be involved in that process. So it's not so much if, it's how you will be involved in that process is what you need to know. So you need to, have a point of contact. You need to, just know how your feedback loop, how that feedback loop will go. And that is related to this point where, how am I going to be able to test working portions of the project, right? So as you're working with this company and voicing your feedback, this is the direction that we want to go, all that good stuff, you need to make sure that you know how you can review these working portions regularly, just to make sure that everyone's on the right track and making sure that you're nailing, that you're doing things as the car is taken apart, right? So a pretty common saying that I'll tell all my clients is, hey, the car is taken apart. Everything is splayed out. If you want to swap the engine, if you have some sort of other feedback about like the color of the car, whatever, the car's taken apart. So we can swap things out relatively. It's easier to do it then. But then when you have a car that's complete, everything's screwed on tight, it's really hard to try and backtrack and change directions, right? So making sure that you can continually offer feedback is huge. And yeah, so that's about it. Again, sorry for whispering, but I'm in an area where I can't really talk too loudly, but hopefully that helps bring some light about custom software, what it does. Again, the key benefits is that it's tailor-made. You have a huge return on investment. I mean, of course, it depends on the application, but at least with the projects that we've overseen, we've saw a huge return on investments. Security, compatibility, and the mitigation of long-term risks overall give you a huge competitive advantage when you're using customizable software. So yeah, are there any, I don't know if you do a Q&A or anything like that, but
yes, of course. So it's a small enough group. I think if you guys are like patient, feel free to just unmute and offer up your question as they come to you. Feel free to jump in. Wow, you just were so clear and concise. No one has anything new to ask you.
It was a lot of really good info. Yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry, was someone else talking?
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, I was just about to say it was a lot of info, and like I barely touched the website space, and even I was like, that's a lot of info. But I can imagine like everyone else who like hasn't touched a website is kind of like over the head. But like you, very good, concise info. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Lauren, you're up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, great presentation. I actually tried to help my company Bitwise sell some WordPress websites. So I definitely can understand the difference between a prepackaged site and then a customizable site. And I know that there's definitely a lot of benefits to having your own custom. Like you said, the price is more expensive, but it's well worth it at the end. So great job on that presentation.
So Taylor, is it true, kind of part of what I took away, because I'm working with a nonprofit and some interesting, something came up yesterday. If they have a standing website and they're not unhappy with their website, but they're trying to add in an e-commerce functionality piece to what they're doing, can you build that custom and have it come through an existing website?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I tend to suggest. Oftentimes when working with these, different organizations is, you're using something and it works and it solves a problem. So let's not just redo everything, right? But let's try and find a single component here, right? where you have an existing platform. Let's take Modesto and Squarespace, for example, where you have you have this existing website or this app, and it does exactly what you needed it to do, but you want to expand on the functionality a bit. Then that's where this part comes in, right? So where does that fit in your process? Well, we can just expand on that with a single component, whatever that looks like. Maybe it's an extra reporting tool. Maybe it's some additional insights. Maybe it's, whatever it looks like. It can be literally anything, but we can, easily expand upon an existing platform, so that everyone's still familiar with the existing platform. And then, oh, they have like this additional tool. Well, that's pretty cool. That way I don't have to do this report by hand anymore, or, again, whatever it happens to be. That's exactly what I tend to suggest to people, because it just makes sense not to, rebuild everything from scratch, right? So.
And that essentially was my takeaway, but I appreciate even you restating it. It's not about selling and just selling a product and making money off of somebody. This is not broken, don't fix it, but this is what I can do to you separately. And I think people in general, small business, greatly appreciate working with specialists along that line.
Exactly right. And yeah, it's never, never something that software can be a black box, and it's really easy to, it's kind of like the whole mechanic, like the greasy car salesman stigma, where right. You're trying to buy something but you don't understand what you're buying, so they just upsell you like crazy. Same thing with software, but so that's why it's really important to do things like ask those questions, because a reputable software engineering consultancy, whether it's me or someone else, that doesn't matter, but asking those questions, getting a gauge and an overall feel for the team that you'll be working with for a very long time, it's important, because it's that kind of trust. And a good software engineering consultancy is never going to just say, oh, you have to rebuild it just because it generates more revenue. They're going to be smart about it and say, okay, well, let's work with what you have now. It makes sense. Let's just extend off a little piece of that, right? So yeah.
Yeah, love it. Thank you. Anyone else?
Just a comment. I think so many businesses, we just operate on the hey, this is how it gets done, right? So there's so many things in our operations, whether it's reporting or compiling data, and we just throw bodies at it, and we continue to do that, right, month after month. And so custom software, I think, can be expensive, right? Because consultants will cost anywhere from $100 to $200 an hour for their work. But then as businesses, when we think about it, that okay, at the end of the day, software is about automation, right? And so you invest one time and then you are saving money every month, right? Because that headcount can be redeployed to more useful activities, right? More revenue generating activities, as opposed to just doing the same things over and over every month, right?
Exactly right. Yeah.
Okay, unless someone else has something they'd like to add or ask, we're coming up close to the end of our hour. Really want everyone to have an opportunity to chime in here. We have a few people that are stepping away for other meetings, and we totally understand the dynamic of the world we're in that sense. So feel free. We're on the countdown.
Great. Hey, thank you very much. Trish, if I could just make one comment.
Sure.
So just so everybody knows, the Tech Connect partnership and coalition is growing, and tech in the Valley is growing. And so there are plans to bring in sort of special speakers, more speakers from large companies that could help us here in the Central Valley, give us exposure to some of these technology solutions that we are not seeing that are homegrown here in the Valley quite yet. And we also have plans to launch, larger quarterly events. And there are some significant corporate sponsors coming along. So keep an eye out for growth of this event, this networking event, as well as some related other tech initiatives here in the Valley. So again, thank you very much for everyone's partnership. And thank you so much, Taylor, for taking time to speak with us today. And you guys all have a fantastic month.
Yep. Never hesitate to bring your friends along to these. We're open to, we have no max.
Great. Thank you so much. You guys have a good day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Taylor.